two, one.
Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour podcast. It is Friday, coming to you a little bit earlier this week because I will be on the road, but wanted to keep the preview series going. We are going to be looking at the AFC West today. But before I do that, I thought I'd touch on some of the news, which is that Stephon Diggs, who is currently seeking a job, actually was wide receiver 17 last year for the Patriots, had a 1,000-yard season for the Patriots, was arguably their top receiver for a team that made the Super Bowl. Not currently signed, said that he is the best number 2 wide receiver out there for any team. Probably still has some thing to offer a team. I don't know if he would be the best number 2 wide receiver in the league. We have some pretty killer duo combos for some of the teams in the league. The Rams come to mind. The Broncos come to mind. The Bengals come to mind. But I think Diggs, a player maybe more likely to sign the end of preseason or just into the regular season where they don't have to commit to anything. I think there is definitely some potential that some of his off-field antics have become a little bit much. I don't even know if he would be my top choice among free agent veteran wide receivers, with Deebo Samuel out there as well. But an interesting guy to look at nonetheless. Well, let's dive into our preview. Last week we did the NFC West with the reigning Super Bowl champion. This week it is the AFC West, and as I did last week, I'm going to go first to worst in terms of how they finished last year. Top team in the division last year was the Denver Broncos. They were first in the West, lost in the AFC Championship game to those Patriots, were 14-3 last year. Among their losses, Michael Burton, the fullback, Dre Greenlaw at linebacker, and PJ Locke at safety. Among their additions, Jalen Waddle pictured here. They acquired via trade to be one of their new top weapons in the passing game. They drafted Jonah Coleman at running back and Justin Jolly at tight end. Fantasy finishes, Bo Nix was QB7. J.K. Dobbins, who ended the season injured, finished as running back 43. R.J. Harvey, running back 20 in his rookie season. Cortland Sutton was wide receiver 13. Troy Franklin, wide receiver 31. And Evan Ingram, tight end 29. Really excited to see Waddle. I think Waddle and Sutton are going to be a great duo. If you followed my bold predictions, I think both those guys could end up being 1,000-yard receivers. I think the passing game really going to flow through them. Bo Nix was QB7 as a rookie, QB7 last year, and yet there are people that continue to doubt and bag on him. His ADP is more like QB13. I think that makes him a good value. He has been a fairly steady contributor. I'm excited about seeing what he can do with Davis Webb as his offensive coordinator this year. So I think there is still plenty to like about this Broncos team. I think they are going to be competitive. They are going to be pushing for the playoffs again, could be pushing for an AFC West title again. Much like the NFC West, I think there are 3 good teams, and there is one team that is in a little bit of a rebuild when it comes to this division. The number 2 team in the division last year was the Los Angeles Chargers. They finished second in the West, 11-6. They lost in the AFC wildcard round. Najee Harris, the running back, Keenan Allen, wide receiver, Tyler Conklin, the tight end, and Odafe Owe, an edge player, no longer with the team. Additions, they brought in Keaton Mitchell to add depth to the running back room. They brought in tight ends David Njoku and Charlie Kohler, and they brought in offensive lineman Tyler Battis and Cole Strange. But probably their biggest addition is Mike McDaniel at offensive coordinator. He is pictured here. He was probably the addition that piqued my interest the most. Fantasy finishes, Justin Herbert was QB10, Kamani Vidal, running back 42, Amarian Hampton, running back 35 as a rookie, Quentin Johnson, wide receiver 30, Ladd McConkey, bit of a step back last year, wide receiver 34, and Arande Gadsden was tight end 15. I think when it comes to fantasy, the only thing I feel good about is Justin Herbert, who's been consistently low-end QB1, maybe high-end QB2 value. So I think he will continue to be in there. There are a lot of questions about how this wide receiving game is going to shake out. Ladd McConkey was great as a rookie and a great value and a great piece for fantasy. He took a little bit of a step back last year, some injuries. Their offense wasn't clicking. Quentin Johnson, another guy who's been a little bit hot and cold, did not look good as a rookie, has picked up a little bit under Jim Harbaugh's time. What can he do with McDaniel? Trey Harris, a receiver we liked that was taken in the second round last year, was a non-factor as a rookie. Can he get into it? Brendan Thompson, taken in the fourth round this year. Will he find a way to kind of crack in there? And then tight end, Arani Gadsden had some really incredible games that showed maybe his talent and his potential, but he was very slow at the start of the season. He was kind of slow at the end of the season as well. That tight end 15 is deceptive. There were probably only a few weeks you would have been thrilled he was in your lineup, and some of those weeks you probably weren't playing him yet. And now it makes me a little bit nervous that they've added Njoku and Kohler. I think that is a lot of competition for him to face for targets at that position. It'll be interesting to see what Mike McDaniel does. What dimensions he can bring to this offense. I think the Chargers are still a good team. They were 11-6, made the playoffs last year despite a rash of injuries. I think anywhere between 10 and 12 wins and probably being a playoff team again would make sense to me. Let's move on to the Kansas City Chiefs. And after years of dominance, the wheels really came off the bus in 2025 for the Kansas City Chiefs. They finished third in the AFC West, but they finished kind of a limp 6-11 out of the playoff race. Gardner Minshew, the quarterback, Isaiah Pacheco at running back, Juju Smith-Schuster and Marquise Brown at receiver, Juwan Taylor on the offensive line, and Trent McDuffie at corner all moved on. Their biggest addition was bringing in Kenneth Walker at running back. The former Super Bowl MVP really solidifies that backfield for Eric Bieniemy, who returns as offensive coordinator. They also added a couple of corners, L'Jarius Sneed and rookie Mansour Delane, to try and shore up that secondary. Patrick Mahomes was QB 11 last year, despite ending with missing a few games to end the season. Rashee Rice, wide receiver 40, he was suspended. He missed some time, but when he's on the field, he can be electric. Xavier Worthy kind of disappearing in year two, wide receiver 59. Travis Kelce, the old reliable, was tight end 3. From a fantasy standpoint, look, I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes being a QB1. The question is, when does he start the season? He said he's healthy and he's tracking toward playing week 1, but he was injured pretty late in the season. They grabbed Justin Fields this offseason to be a little bit of a handcuff and maybe a plan B option. I would not be surprised to see Justin Fields start the season, maybe start the first couple of weeks. But Kenneth Walker, I think he is a great player. I think he was a great addition here. I think he is going to do well in Bieniemy's system. He is a running back 1 for me for fantasy. Travis Kelce, still the low end tight end 1. I think he wants to have a strong season. I think he wants to help the Chiefs bounce back. He wants to go out on a good note. Wide receiver, kind of all over the board. You can't stay away from Rashee Rice no matter how many off-field problems he has, because he has such a high ceiling for production when he is on the field. But still, I can't blame you if that makes you a little nervous. Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, these are probably guys you have on your roster. I wouldn't want to have to rely on them week to week because we just don't know what we're going to get. I think this passing game is in a little bit of a flux and a little bit of a transition. So if it comes to fantasy, what I'm betting on, if Rashee Rice is healthy and playing, you're playing him. Travis Kelce, I think, is a good play at tight end, and I like Kenneth Walker and Patrick Mahomes. Fourth place team in the division last year was the Las Vegas Raiders. And despite bringing in Pete Carroll and having some optimism, the wheels fell off the bus and quickly. They were fourth, finished 3-14, worst record in the NFL. Among their losses, the Geno Smith at QB experiment did not work out. He is now with the Jets. Kenny Pickett came in at QB. He's gone. Zamir White, running back, Tyler Lockett, wide receiver, and longtime kicker Daniel Carlson also gone. This offseason, they signed veteran Kirk Cousins at quarterback, but they also drafted Fernando Mendoza as the number 1 overall pick. He is pictured here. So those guys expected to fill that quarterback room. They drafted Mike Washington and to add depth at running back. They brought in Jalen Naylor, a free agent at wide receiver, kind of the only substantive move they made at wide receiver for this new offense under new head coach Clint Kubiak. They brought in Tyler Linderbaum at center, Kwity Paye at edge, and Nakobe Dean at linebacker, kind of rebuilding this team. In his rookie year, Ashton Jeanty was running back 11 last year. Trey Tucker, the best of the wide receivers, at wide receiver 38, and Brock Bowers, who also missed time and got shut down at the end of the season, finished as tight end 11. I like the Clint Kubiak hire. I like some of the pieces they have here. I'm kind of curious to see what the mix is going to be at quarterback. My bold prediction was Kirk Cousins plays less than 5 games this season. I think you're going to have a Fernando Mendoza season that looks a lot like what happened with Jackson Dart and the Giants last year, or Drake May and the Patriots in the year prior, where you have an entrenched veteran who starts and plays the first 2 to 4 games of the season. Team doesn't look like they are going to be a playoff team, and they're going to want to look at the rookie. I think Brock Bowers is going to be good as long as he's healthy. He is a tight end one. Ashton Janty was already a running back one last year. It's hard to imagine his situation could have gotten any worse. The big question is at wide receiver. I think there is some breakout potential for Jalen Naylor, a guy who I liked what he did with the Minnesota Vikings when he was kind of the third wheel behind Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, and maybe even the fourth wheel if you count TJ Hawkinson. Here, he has a chance to maybe work into a feature role. Can Jack Besh or Dante Thornton step up in year 2? They were kind of a non-factor as rookies. Or can Trey Tucker build on what we saw last year? I kind of think last year might have been peak Trey Tucker, but I've been wrong before. I think this is going to be a good run-focused team with a very dominant tight end, maybe good 2 tight end sets working in a little bit of Michael Mayer. I think it's going to be a growing season for Mendoza, and I would not be surprised if next offseason they spend some more money investing in weapons, kind of like what we've seen them do around Jake May in New England. But that is a look at the AFC West. I expect the Raiders will probably be in 4th place, not a playoff contender. But I would not be surprised to see the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs all make the playoffs in 2026. So that is a look at the AFC West. I will be back next week with the NFC North, which is a killer division. All the teams finished 500 or better last year. How do I feel like they will do in 2026? Well, we'll answer that question next week. Until then, have a wonderful weekend.